Muted. Hi, welcome everyone. Just let people in. Um, Registration. Great. Hmm. Hmm. There's people who have registered but are not showing up. That's weird. Okay. Welcome everyone. Put your feet on the ground. Take a breath. And arriving for this couple of hours that we'll spend together. And welcome to Saturday Coaching Club. I think I know everyone here actually. Here, what we'll do is this is an opportunity to get some laser coaching, but also for me to illustrate some of these principles of developmental mastery. And I'll potentially go through the kind of the different areas. Actually, I might do that now. Of this field or this kind of approach, which is really about having lots of different types of models to handle different aspects of being human. So many modalities, people will use a single modality, many practitioners. And what I've noticed is that if you have some understanding of stage development, also obviously relationships and relationship dynamics, the fact that you're a continuous evolving self, that we have other ways other than talk or talk therapies to be able to regulate and balance our emotions and down-regulate safety, our nervous systems into safety in the body. Knowing this critical understanding, knowing what our energy and not our energy is. So this is a kind of a concept you can parallel it to, let's say, to the immune system. It's implicit. It knows what's you and what's not you when it's functioning well and correctly. And if you think about digestion knows how to extract nourishment from food, but so the parallel would be experiences and eliminate the rest. Oh, more people arriving. And then we get into the realms of, well, we are born into society, but like in the film The Matrix, we are born into a culture and environment that's invisible to us. And in the Castaneda books, Carlos Castaneda, he said we gain membership. So everyone around us when we're young constantly tells us stuff until we go, okay, I guess I'm one of you, right? And then later on in life, we've got to decide which bits do we want to keep and which bits do we want to drop according to our authentic energy. Then there's the very practical implementation of change in the world, being more tactical and strategic. And then there's the more woo-woo, if you want to call it that, which is that what is this existence that we're living in? And from a very practical standpoint, when we mirror our beliefs just through homeostasis in the world so that the world reflects and responds back to us how we respond in the world. This is self-fulfilling prophecies, stable systems of behavior. Someone else is coming. There we go. And then some kind of awakening practice, which is a very different dynamic than working purely within the mind or psychologically. And there's kind of energetics. You might say the energetics are in here as well. So aura, chakras, meridians. So there's a whole bunch of different systems and modalities. And what that means is when someone presents something for a particular piece of change work, what we can do is attune into that system. And you can attune into your own system and say, where is the most elegant intervention that wouldn't cause a fight in my system or in your system? And if we approach things that way, what we find is that change can be often surprisingly elegant. Okay, so just this moment. Oh, hello.
I couldn't hear you. Where is the most elegant place that wouldn't cause, and then the word dropped. I couldn't hear.
Okay. So we can find the most elegant avenue of intervention based on the fact that we've got lots and lots of different options of how to approach our own system. Right. So let's say somebody, a really silly example, but an obvious example, if someone is not physically fit, right, then no amount of intervention of talking to them is going to help. They're going to have to do something that mirrors the place where our systems can interact with the input that we're giving it. Does that make sense? Right. So these different things do different things in our system, but we are one system, right? So we can find the most elegant way to intervene based on what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve. Does that make sense, Anna? Yeah, good to see you. It's been a while. Okay, so let's just do this for a moment. If you take a moment, and the fact what we will play with a bit today is the fact that we don't have to do everything through our conscious minds. And this is probably not a good idea anyway, right? So if you think about a lot of things we do well in life, we do them implicitly and unconsciously. Most obvious examples are things like riding a bike or driving, right? That I'm sure everyone here knows somebody who still drives consciously. So they're like that, and looking around, constantly checking, right? So we want to hand over some of our competence and trust to the unconscious capabilities that we've developed just through sheer practice in our lives, right? So when someone, let's say, has been speaking to other people their whole lives, they can speak to people, they can talk to people, put them in front of a stage, and now if they've got a fear of public speaking, all of a sudden something else happens, and this trust in the fact that you can speak to people seems to get interrupted by other forces or other components of dynamics going on, right? So if you restore for that person the trust that you can do this, right, then their nervous system relaxes, they're more capable of speaking in public. All of these things become more natural. And we're all a bit like that, which is that we have capabilities in one area of our life that for whatever reason that learning hasn't generalized into the areas that we would like it to be. And so we might look at some of that today as well. Okay, so take a moment, close your eyes for a moment, and think about your intention for being here, your purpose in this space. It might be curiosity, it might be interest, it might be learning, it might be evolution, it might be resolving something that has seemingly or has seemed unresolvable or hasn't resolved to date. Right? And then tune into the part of you that knows, we're making a premise, what would be the most useful, the most elegant thing that you could shift today that has a profound and positive shift and benefit of freedom, ease, liberation, joy across your whole system. And be open to the possibility that isn't where you're absolutely certain where you think a change needs to happen. Very often the one place where when we're too certain of where we think a shift needs to happen and just applying more energy in that place doesn't work very well because we are dynamic systems. And so see if you can loosen and ease off that and go, I don't know for this moment what could be the most surprising and elegant shift I could make in the next couple of hours. And we have a way of shifting from the I'm doing it to letting things happen. So we have a few different ways. We can say, let your unconscious do it. In hypnosis, let God do it if you're that way inclined. Let universe do it. Let the spiritual energies that are here to help you do it. Let your intrinsic wisdom support you. The part that knows how to beat your heart, the part that knows how to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide in your lungs, the part of you that knows how to digest things, the part of you that dynamically responds to the world in elegant ways. And all of this is a way of getting ourselves out of the way, not having to micromanage change. What this work is getting people back into the flow of your own wisdom and intelligence, operating seamlessly, unconsciously, and in a more natural flow. Our systems are designed to restore themselves to health, both physically and psychologically. And as we remove the disturbances to that, then we tend to align along our soul path more, whatever that means to you. And then subtly now notice the state change, because as we move out of beta, this kind of day-to-day brainwave states, and into alpha, this more relaxed, slower 8 to 12 cycles per second. And then if you're seeing images inside your mind right now, into a more theta, 4 to 7 cycles per second, consciousness tends to expand. Some people say this is a realm of telepathy and non-direct communication through the senses, more sensing and feeling and knowing and being. And talking of being, you can drop down to imagine what's it like when you're in deep sleep. If you take your ideas about being in a deep sense of rest and peace and allow your body to respond to that now, abiding in calm stillness and delighting in the fact that our bodies, our minds can respond to words and to the group field energy, and attending to stillness, bring some of it present and appreciate the amount that it does. And then ask your body to respond to stillness, to rest, to safety in this moment. And although we're only talking a few seconds, maybe a minute of clock time, any instant when we let go, stop the continuous attempting, and make a distinction between surrender and submission. Submission feels like losing or giving up. But what we're giving up is schemas that were set up a long time ago or recently that are certain about how you're going about finding solutions. And when we surrender, we open to the possibility that solutions can come in all sorts of interesting and unusual and surprising ways. When we stop working on a problem and we have that shower moment, or we go for a run, when we're in our default mode network and not thinking actively, is when surprising new connections can be made. So tune into that part of you, the part of you that patterns implicitly. When you go to a new city and you don't rigidly figure out everything by a map, but you go, oh, that road leads to that roundabout, and round that corner is that cafe. And if I go around this block, I can get to my hotel a different way. And the map forms by living, by experiencing. So in the next couple of hours, as you see some laser coaching, you can learn consciously and implicitly by mirroring and recognizing for yourself in your own world the patterns in your own consciousness that relate to what you're experiencing as you witness others change. And with that in mind, letting go of anything that doesn't serve you, gently open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes, notice how your state changes when you open your eyes. And remaining in this more spacious state for most of you. Let's have a little check-in. What's going on for you? This is a chance to say, hey, this is me. This is what's going on for me. Or even laser coaching, here's what I'd like to look at. Hi, Elise. And before, we'll go 1 second. And there's a temptation when there's a group like this to go with what's wrong, right? What's this thing I want to solve? And that's totally okay. I invite that. And we're also going to play with, if nothing's wrong and you just want something in your life, right? An addition, an add, then have a think about that too. So don't change what you're going to say, Elise, because you had something to say. Don't judge it. Just say what you're going to say, because it's all welcome here.
Okay, thanks. So there's something that I'd like to release. And what I'd like to release is the way that I viewed a certain person based on past interactions. So I won't say who the person is, but a family member. Mm-hmm. And I had a series of very challenging interactions with this person for many years. And now I'd like to let go not only of resentment, but just sort of my visual or my like my map of who this person is and how we interact so that I can start fresh.
Nice. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. So let's articulate the future state. Okay. So let's do it like this. Right. Let's say this person has had before. When was the last time you interacted with them?
November.
Right. So let's say in the meantime, some miracle has happened. Mm-hmm. Right? And you don't know necessarily who they are now or how they are now. Right. And let's say hypothetically that the reason they are how they are with you, there'll be elements where they're just like this with everybody, which is a good insight, right? But how they are with you is stabilized by how you are with them or how you think about them, right? So there's two possibilities. One is that you shift and so they shift because it's a dynamic system, right? The other is it's a really interesting question. How do we get to the point, I have to do it in my work, where in order to allow people to surprise you and basically show up where some miracle has happened, right, is relaxing the certainty that they are the way they are.
Right.
Okay, so think about the traits and the qualities that they have and then we'll fill in the words. Frustrate you, bug you, annoy you, scare you, irritate you? What give us all of the unfiltered, uncensored judgments, negative words, kind of like they are X.
Hmm.
The things
Okay.
the things you don't like about them.
Well, and just to be clear, this is definitely in the past. And I know that these things aren't true anymore, aren't so true anymore. But based on my past experiences, adjectives that would come to mind would be dishonest, a little dishonest.
Let me do it. Let me say it differently.
Yeah.
Let me say it differently then, because this is not you speaking. I want to hear from the part of you, because the part of you that's let it go and go, they're not the same person anymore, and I'm compassionate. That bit's fine, right?
Wait, so which part do you want me to?
Yeah, I want the part that hasn't updated.
That has not updated.
Yeah, the
Okay.
part that's not buying it. They're still like this. That's still living that reality.
Yeah, I guess I would say like secretive, reactive, judgmental, stubborn, angry, somewhat maybe ego-centered.
Okay, that'll do for now.
That's enough. That covers it. Yeah, that covers it.
Okay, right. So in order to make those statements, right, there's got to be representations, like things you're seeing, things you're remembering, because you said, because you don't know, they like last weekend they could have had like this massive awakening and they're completely different human now, right?
Yeah.
You don't know, right? So think about all of those representations that you made. So the images in your mind and then the words, right? And then overall the feeling that brings up for you in your body.
I think nervous would be the feeling.
Okay. Right.
There's like intimidated or nervous somehow.
Right. So here's what we're doing is rather than them, so we're going, they are whoever they are in the world, right? Then we've got our projections, essentially, our representations of them, which may or may not be true, right? So we're getting away from facts because I've always thought this. Do you know that thing where the one person where you go, how is this person? They're so socially objectionable that how are they even functioning in society? And even that person has a friend who
Right.
doesn't see them that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So anything we know about another person is always has to come through our own lens and our filter, and somebody else has a different combination of that. So this is when we go, oh, if we have to change the other person, we've got an issue. There's a problem, but we can deal with our charge related to the projections we have of that other person.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So now we've accurately represented this person, and this is why we need to remove all of the spiritual green, mustn't say anything negative about anyone, all of those kinds of things, because if these things exist in our consciousness, we have to own them and be okay with them, as you know, right?
Right.
So have a look at all of those images and those thoughts, and you said, I feel nervous. So the nice thing about this is there's one reaction going on, right, to all of this. And 0 to 10, how much is that nervousness?
I would say like a 7.
Okay, it's quite high. So let's just do this. So where do you feel it in your body?
In my chest.
In your chest, right. So now let's say, because I know you well enough now, you've got quite a lot of personal resource to be able to do this. Just so everyone else knows this, right? Right. That the nervousness, there's some version of either there's something I won't be able to do, or I won't feel safe, or I'll lose something. It'll be some version of one of those, right? Or if you've got another one, that's fine. But what's the positive intention of being nervous, which is how you say it in NLP terms, right? Yeah.
I think that the positive intention is I would like to connect with this person and
Yeah,
overcome
that's got
those
it. That's
representations.
not the purpose of the nervousness, though.
Oh, the nervousness. Yeah, that's protecting myself, obviously, right? So self-protection.
Got it. All right. And then make the representation over there, but from what?
I guess being judged or being hurt by
Okay.
that.
Got it. Right. So now what we've established is that there's a representation of being judged or hurt, right? And because I remember the first time Stephen Gilligan said this in a class. He's a hypnotherapist and a psychotherapist. He goes, every client, and he puts it like this: every client is impotent, right? And what he means by that, not sexually, obviously, right? What he means by that is some part of the psyche must think, I don't have an ability to handle this, deal with this, cope with this, manage this, right? The rest of the psyche might, I mean, for years of experience that you've got as a human being and as a psychotherapist, you easily have the capabilities to handle this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So we're only dealing with the part of you that gets nervous because it believes that it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. Right.
Got it.
Got it. Right. So let's just jump to the miracle question. Is if you woke up tomorrow and something had shifted where you knew without a shadow of a doubt that you could deal with this person and this situation and the things for which you're nervous, like the self-protection, how would that change things? What would you be seeing differently, knowing differently, experiencing differently, thinking differently?
If I knew I could handle it, it would mean that I'm seeing more clearly and I'm not sort of stuck on those representations that are negative about this person, that I would be able to let go of all of it and be in the
Correct. And if you were to let go of all of it and you just knew that your safety was not in question at all,
right.
right? Imagine you'd gone on a 3-year training on boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And every week you practiced, right? And you come out the other end of that training and you're like, I have so many reference experiences now of dealing with boundaries that
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty, excuse my language, I'm pretty fucking confident that whatever they throw at me, I can deal with, right? If that all happened hypothetically over tonight and you woke up tomorrow morning, like your unconscious had gone through 3 years of training, and it was and it's a hypothetical at the moment, undeniably without question. Right? Maybe the first 6 months was dealing with dishonest people, and then the next 6 months was dealing with somebody who's secretive, and then the next 6 months was dealing with someone who was reactive, and you just built the muscle of being able to handle it.
Yeah.
Then, how would that change things? So hypothetical.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would be able to hold on to my self-esteem in the situation, the interactions with this person. But ultimately, I think the goal is to have a good relationship with this person.
We're going there. That's what we're going, which is removing anything that's getting in the way of that, right? So
Yeah.
then this comes to the fear of loss, right? Which is I'd lose my self-esteem is at risk,
Yeah.
right? So we're finding all the things so where we doubt whether we can hold on to our self-esteem. You said I'd be able to hold on to my self-esteem, which means I have a concern that I'm not able to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're going to go in a slightly different direction now and do a bit of tapping, which is what if you didn't need to hold on to your self-esteem?
Well, I think that's important because I think that's what causes me to be defensive and reactive in response. So,
Right, got it. Yeah. So stay with me on this because we're getting quite close now, right? Which is that in your consciousness at the moment, there's a representation of losing your self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
right? And contained within that, and I'm generalizing for everybody, so it may not be specific to you, is the either an inability to cope, or that I'll be seen less by others, right? Or I will not have certain rights, right? Or it'll be some disadvantage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Got it? Okay. Now, question for you. When you stay here and imagine that arising, which is the not having self-esteem, that state, the part that your psyche's kind of doesn't want to go to, or it's trying to prevent from happening.
Yeah.
Got it? And 0 to 10, how much is it like, I don't want to go there?
I'd say it's about an 8.
Right. So 2 fingers here before it gets any more unpleasant. Right. Take a breath. Just where the eyebrow, where it meets the bridge of the nose. There we go. Okay. Now look at that representation, give it a grounding chord, and just start to release the charge out of that. That thought is the one that's controlling you currently, or determining behavior,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what if you're no longer afraid of being triggered into the state of quote unquote low self-esteem? The image that comes up, the self that doesn't have as much agency. So you're here now witnessing, watching that. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, other side.
So I'm watching myself not fearing a loss of self-esteem, right?
No, yeah, it's basically going, fuck it, let's just go there and find out it doesn't have any power, right? So this side, I just want you to think about fruit, right? Think about, yeah, like bananas and strawberries and lemons and avocado. Is that a fruit?
Okay.
Right. And what are some berries and
Berries,
water,
apples, peaches.
watermelon and jackfruit and papaya,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Got it.
Okay, take a breath. And then the other side. Right. And now go back to the feeling response that comes up in relationship to this image of low self-esteem, this you that can't handle other people so easily, because we know it's not all of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it was an 8 before, how much charge is on that now when you look at that image?
I would say it's a little bit lower, like a 7. There seems to be a part of me that's really holding on to it.
That's okay. That's all right. Right. So don't try and let it go. Go back to the other side. Right. Right. So look at the space around the trying to let go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And create lots and lots of room. So first the room, then the city, then the state, then America, then the world,
Okay.
right?
Got it.
And then back to the other side. Okay, and tune in again. And how much is it now?
Oh, it's more like a 5, 4, something like that.
Okay, so take a breath. Okay, then back to the other side. Right, now think about uh, engines and mechanical things, computers and lawnmowers and bedside table lamps, to rattle off some just purely physical, mechanical things and electrical things in there, toasters and TVs and
Okay.
just 2 or 3 that come to mind
Yeah.
out
Like
loud.
toaster, refrigerator, washing machine, clock, radio. Yeah. Got it.
Got it. Now back to the other side. Right. And then tune into the response, the reaction, and how much there's a charge on it now.
I would say about a 4, about the same.
Right. So about a 4. So where have we gone? We've gone from an 8 to a 4 so far, haven't we? Right.
Yes.
Okay. Tune into the other side. Now, nature. So gardens and flowers and yeah, fields of hay
Hmm.
and mountains
Hmm.
and lakes, and just name some nature things.
Okay, so I'm thinking of the Swiss Alps, the Everglades, fields of hay, a beach.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the other side. There's a different learning going on here than the most obvious. I mean, I think you got the hang of it, right? So now tune in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how much is the charge on that now?
3 to 4.
3 to 4, right? So, and by the way, notice how the jumps are not linear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So back to the other side. Right. Now, consider that none of these things that we're talking about had been they're not in that other frame, right? Right. That the other you is looking down a very narrow kind of lens of reality in order to generate those experiences, and we're introducing a lot of variation of all kinds of different things. Okay, so tune into hobbies, the kinds of hobbies people have, like basket weaving and scuba diving. Kinds of hobbies do people have? Fishing and
Right. Scuba diving, fishing, hiking, knitting,
maybe
cooking.
even, yeah, activities that you've done and do that are
Mm-hmm.
fun. Okay, right, and then back to the side. Now we can ask the question, right? Consider the range of what this part of you, the way it's looking at the world, like how um, uh, limited, basically, right? And now contemplate what was happening on the other side of a very big world of a whole huge numbers of different things we can pay attention to,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now when you think about that self-esteem thing and how important it was, right? How does that feel now?
Yeah, it's much lower, I would say, maybe a 3.
Okay, so stop there, right? So the important thing about this intervention, how are you feeling now?
Good. I mean, I think there's more spaciousness in my mind
Right.
regarding it too.
Right.
Relaxed.
So can you see the difference now between working inside the frame of like how do I solve my self-esteem issue?
Yeah.
Right. Whereas how big the world is outside of the frame,
Yes, for
right?
sure.
Okay. So now consider how big the world is outside of the frame and hold this kind of I have to protect my self-esteem, look out, all the rest of it as the concept or the thought of it now, and notice what happens with that.
It gets, I think it puts it in perspective and it gets smaller.
Yeah. So let that
Whereas
continue.
before it was huge and now it's
Exactly.
kind of small. It's still hurt. I mean, it's still
Yes.
it's still a tender point. Um,
Good, because
but
we want to stay human
yeah,
through
yeah, it's
James
still
Burke.
a little tender. I wish it was less tender. I wish it was more
Okay.
like, oh, whatever,
That's fine because we're doing something else, right? Now, bring into that all that space, all of the countless ways you actually do know how to handle people, situations, environments, and their behaviors and their actions. Because really, what we're changing is the belief in the ability to deal with, handle, cope with. So even if you feel raw, even if you feel hurt, as a child, you wouldn't have been able, that would be devastating, and I can't do anything about it, and I feel helpless, and then shame about the fact that you can't feel, which is where that's many of the self-esteem stuff comes from, right? Is the feeling like we should be able to cope when we can't, and all these kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
And now recognizing this much larger frame, that you might even get triggered, you might even feel hurt, but that doesn't have to impact your self-esteem, because, right? So what happens?
Right. That's an interesting concept, right? It doesn't have to impact my self-esteem. I could feel hurt or feel ashamed or feel sad, but that doesn't have to shift how I think of myself in the world in
You
general.
you can even feel low self-esteem and be proud of the fact that you're dealing with it really well.
True.
This is the out frame. We created room to create a frame outside of getting completely into that reality. And we did it using something called aggregate scope, which was you start with the thing and then you add so many things around it that it doesn't take over the whole consciousness space, which is what it would have done in earlier stages of development.
I love that. Yeah, it really puts it in perspective. I mean, even this concept we have of self-esteem and losing it is just a construct, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of became
a
apparent.
huge polarity. And now on the back of that, there's a lot to protect and like defend, and things all founded on I'm worried about a trigger of a place that I might go. But if I can be with that, then I can have self-esteem about how I deal with the being triggered into a state of low self-esteem. It's over. It's done. Right? Doesn't mean it won't happen again, but the exclusive identification, once we've done this, it can't really come up totally again unless we go unconscious.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
My mentor said to me, he goes, because he talks kind of, I do parody him a little bit. I do love him though. He goes, he's like 70 something. He goes, I know people who've had perfectly good lives with low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What we've removed is the significance and the importance of it, not is it there or not, or what we've reduced. Right. And if you look at, if you read a whole bunch of self-help books, they go, most important thing, self-esteem, you've got to have self-esteem, blah, blah, blah. And this actually, paradoxically, from a systems point of view, sometimes that can perpetuate it rather than what's your level of self-esteem if you don't mind whether you have high or low self-esteem. It's pretty fucking high. Right. Right. And so you just even today reducing the power of that place in your psyche to shape your reality is freedom.
Yeah, I like that. I like that shift. It's very helpful.
You're very welcome. Nicely done. All right. So everyone take a breath. Put your feet on the ground. And consider that we can get triggered into and out of lots of different states, different meanings, different experiences. But the beingness, the you that does that, isn't affected by anything that happens unless we exclusively identify with the meaning we've made.